All right, what's going on, everyone? As always, I'm super pumped to be here. And I swear I'm not trying to bring more Marines onto the podcast, but it kind of feels like it because maybe I just raise my hand and they just come running. That's what Marines do. Today I have got Lieutenant Colonel Michael Liguori. What's going on, sir?
Hey, what's going on, brother? Good to talk to you.
Hey, you too. So, Lieutenant Colonel Liguori, you is from MCTSSA, and I may get it right or wrong. We'll see. Marine Corps Tactical System Support Activity. Is that right?
Boom. First
Okay.
time.
Fantastic. So, sir, I'm excited to share not only your story because I know you've had a unique Marine Corps experience, but also I don't think a lot of people know about that MCTSSA exists or what you guys do. So, first, I want to dive into a little bit about Michael Liguori, who you are, how'd you get to where you are today?
Okay. I'd love to talk about that. I'm a traditional, in the Marine sense, a logistics officer, but I have a hard time talking to fellow logistics officers because I had such a weird path throughout my career. Started at the Naval Academy, and there was a lot of Marine enlisted that were becoming Mustangs that got accepted to the Naval Academy, and I really liked how they interacted with each other. And then when I went to Leatherneck during the summer, one of our kind of get out and see what the Navy and the Marine Corps is, I had just an instant calling to want to be a Marine. When I was chosen to be a Marine and got selected, was honored, and I got into the fleet, or First Marine Division, Blue Diamond, so to speak, right at the kickoff of the Iraq War, the 21 day rush to Baghdad. And there was 4 logistics officers and only 2 spots to deploy, so we picked straws. And unfortunately, I didn't get the straw to deploy, so I went to 11th Marines and grew where I was planted, and then actually was chosen to be a truck platoon commander from 11th Marines, supporting 3-1 and 1-5 out at Fallujah, Iraq in 2004 timeframe. And then from
Okay.
there, did a B billet, ran the Marine Corps shooting team all across the globe, learning how to compete with Marines and start up a combat shooting team.
Wow.
So we had a rifle, pistol, and a combat shooting team. And then from there, went into MARSOC, supporting them as a logistics officer at First Marine, First Special Marine Special Operations Battalion, which now is First Raider Battalion. And did that for a while, deployed with them with Special Operations Task Force 81 in Afghanistan. And then when I was in Afghanistan, in Herat, the commandant said, "You were selected for school." I said, "I don't want to go do any more school." And the XO said, "This is not an option." So I went to Monterey, California,
Okay.
learned about IT, and then came back to Manpower Reserve Affairs, did that for a little bit, and then came here to a place called MCTSSA. Started as just in the SIC shop doing IT stuff, then got promoted into the executive officer, and then General Pasagian asked or told me, "I'd like you to take command of MCTSSA." So a crazy, crazy story and an honor for me. And I keep on doing it because it's fun to be with Marines and civilians and get stuff done with them. I'm all about just getting things done. Yeah.
That's fantastic, sir. You've had quite the journey across the Marine Corps, not only seeing different things in geographical areas, but you've seen kind of a breadth of MOSs and job types. I mean, how many Marines are run the shooting team or are on the shooting team? That's a unique experience for sure.
Yeah, it's very, very few. I was at Weapons Training Battalion. I came there as the logistics officer, and I kept on working hard, grow where you're planted type thing. And the colonel there is like, "Mike, I want you to lead our shooting team." And I was like, unbelievable. So learned a lot of different stories that I'm going to weave into kind
Excellent.
of what made me today between the shooting team and MARSOC, and what I got experiences there, and how I'm kind of using here at MCTSSA as a culmination point. But I'd be remiss to say, like, the reason I'm here is because of leaders that I got to experience during that time. Colonel Bailey, the previous commander here, General Pasagian, General Balakas, General Rocco from Manpower Reserve Affairs, Colonel Mulligan, Mr. Bennett, Mr. General Broadmeadow, and Mr. Mark Wright. Those leaders throughout my time, really, I kind of gleaned little bits and pieces from each one of those people and put it in my toolkit. And now I'm in the hot seat, so to speak, and I'm using every tool I got from them.
That's fantastic. And as a system support activity, you probably need a lot of tools for everything that you guys are doing. And that's
Yeah,
what I want to dive into that. So tell us, you told us about Ligouri. Now give us, what is MCTISSA?
yeah, it's the activity. It's weird. Marine Corps Tactical System Activity. It's not a division. It's not a unit. It's an activity. And what that is it allows MCTISSA to have a really broad scope of what it gets involved in the tactical world for command and control systems. What I did was when I came aboard, my leadership approach, I like to dumb it down to I'm a Philly, an Italian Philly kid off the corner, and I dumb it down to a 3-step process on everything. So my kind of approach is show up, step one, and don't just show up to be present, but like show up like it's game day. And step 2, engage the workforce. And then 3, ask questions. There's the power of the question is unbelievable. And I ask a lot of questions to invoke creativity and engagement and empowerment. And I took that kind of philosophy in that process and I challenged the workforce. I came up with like a strat plan. And then I said, okay, based off this strat plan, workforce, I'm challenging you to transform, to operationalize MCTISSA, and to collaborate. And the workforce itself has really grabbed a hold of that challenge and took hold of the vectors, and we're focusing on 7 of the 48 vectors in the strat plan. And what the reason why we're so successful in moving towards the enterprise is this MCTISSA activity is we're really good at our blocking and tackling, our 3 pillars. And this is what MCTISSA is. And I tell the folks all the time, we just celebrated our 50-year anniversary, or 50-year birthday in July. And I tell the folks that are behind me right there on that picture, pre-COVID picture, because we're all together. But I tell all the folks is MCTISSA is not here because of its technologies or its capabilities. It's because of the people. The people make MCTISSA. And the people make our blocking and tackling that so good that we're able to get onto Project Overmatch and these enterprise activities and punch way heavier than our current like kind of weight class. And what we do is our 3 pillars of what it is we do test and certification, we do engineering, and we do fleet marine global support. And there are 3 pillars underneath the tactical command and control C2 systems. And I like to relate it to an Xbox. And I'll bring that Xbox through those 3 pillars. Our test and certification is you take the Xbox and our engineers and our IT specialists test and certify for the government or for the program managers, who is our main effort of supporting through General Pasagian. We test to make sure that that thing turns on, it plays the Xbox games, we can drop it and it doesn't break. We're making sure that the Wi-Fi connections are great. We can plug it in to make sure the voltages are correct. We just make sure these other vendors that are in the acquisition pipeline for command and control systems, we're that certifier in the acquisition process to make sure that that Xbox works. Then I move it over to our engineering division, and our engineering division like opens the Xbox. And they get involved in actually making sure that the motherboards work, the chips work, the electrons are working, and the people there don't stop there. They have such a passion that what they do is they get to see, I wonder if I can make this Xbox play old Xbox games, or I wonder if this Xbox can play PlayStation games. Can it do or integrate with other things? Can I make it a phone? Or what's its electromagnetic spectrum kind of radiant look in that world? And so they take it to the next level by opening it up and getting down. And they tell the program manager, yep, this not only works as it's designed to work, but these are the other things that you can think about to make this thing even better. And this is how it integrates with other systems. And we have a system kind of view here at MCTISSA. We have all of the programs of record for the command and control tactical systems. So we can't help ourselves when we have like a Xbox and a PlayStation sitting next to each other. We say, can those things be integrated? How does it operate in a bigger world? And then our third pillar is the Fleet Marine Force support. This is where it's our competitive advantage, so to speak,
Okay.
amongst all the other NIWICs. And this is what Major Burke leads. And we have this Fleet Marine Force global support center that our mission is directly to engage with the Marines. And we help them in the sustainment part of the current systems that are fielded. But what we do is when the testers and the engineers are looking at it, the stuff in the developmental test stages or early on in the acquisition process, we can't help it but to bring the Fleet Marine Forces closer to us, and we operate the system in a MAGTF construct. So we're just not in a lab making sure that the ones and zeros and the electrons are passing through the wire and we give thumbs up for America. That's not good enough for us. What we do is we put it in a MAGTF construct, in a Marine construct, like how the Marines are going to use it. And then we see if the system does operate in that manner. The great thing about doing it like that is we bring the Fleet Marine Force out here into our labs, and they start helping us. Well, that's not how I use that. I use it like this. And there's some creativity and innovation that gets out of it. That's that feedback loop I was talking about that we get involved in. And what's amazing about that feedback loop is we operationalize that feedback loop and we send up information to the portfolio managers, to the program managers, and to the requirements owner, CD&I, Combat Development and Integration Command, that actually owns the requirements of the Marine Corps. We feed this information back to them so that they get a better understanding how this current systems work as they're fielded, and also how the new systems are in the developmental stages are being worked in with the Marines. So we actually burn the candle at both ends. We burn it early on in the acquisition cycle and the developmental testing and engineering. And then we also burn it on the other end with direct support with the Marines. And so it's friggin' unbelievable. I really, really enjoy that piece of it.
When you are doing that hands-on, working side by side by the Marines using the equipment without speaking for them, what is their reaction? Do they like being included into that loop?
Yeah, so it's just like when someone had the idea, and when you're doing DevSecOps and you're doing waterfall, and you talk to the customer one time, and then you talk to the customer at the end, and people are like, that doesn't make any sense nowadays. We bring the customer in early and often, and what happens is the testing and the engineers here at MCTSSA, the civilians, they learn a lot with the Marines, and the Marines learn how the engineers are testing, and they're able to take what we are doing in the labs, the simulations in the labs, and then they practice it out in their exercises, and it's speeding up how we do kill chains and how we do system integration and how we can better support the Marine with the fielded systems. So we get to learn early on what's going on and what's in the Marine's head, so that we can tell, hey, requirements owners and portfolio managers, here's how the Marines perceive, and here's how the Marines are taking it. So they love being asked. I sent an email to Blue Diamond here at 1st Marine Division saying, hey, I would love to invite Marines to our next JADC2 Joint All-Domain Command and Control exercises, where we're working system integration with the Air Force and the Army and the Navy with Project Overmatch. And so you can see what we're doing in the lab, so you can turn around and practice that in the real world. And the response I get is like, I'm all in. So that takes it that they very much enjoy it, because we can't just ignore the customer. We got to bring that customer in early and often.
Yes. Well, I think the example, I'm going to dumb it down, as you said, for our listeners here, is because you threw a lot of information. The example I often use related to any of the warfare centers, labs, Navy side, Marine side, is the story I know you've heard or told, is some engineers and scientists build something in a lab. It only weighs 5 pounds. Oh, it's so light. I've made it so light. And then they get it to the Marine in the field, and they don't realize that their load is 175 pounds already. And so to me, it's just putting that hand in hand. No, it can't be 5 pounds. It needs to be a pound because I already have 170 pounds. So I love that example of just pulling them in, pulling the customer in this case, the Marines, hand in hand in everything you guys do.
Yeah, a great example of how we listen to Marines is we have a naval integration branch,
Okay.
and they're there, and we have a lab that we call the LFOC, Landing Forces Operations Center. And we had a Hollywood set designer actually design it like an inside of a ship. It's phenomenal.
Okay.
When you walk in this thing, you feel like you're in the COC. It's got the bells and whistles going on. It's got the right layout and everything. And so we bring in the Marines that are using the gear that are going to go on used Marine expeditionary units that are going to go on ships. We bring them in early in the labs to get reps and sets. And then we take it a step further, and we go to the ships and welcome the Marines on the ship. And then we have our network of Navy that we work with, and we help the Marines connect to those systems faster. But my point is, we listen to the customers and what they're doing. And there's a recent example where we've taken a piece of equipment, asked to borrow it off the ship, and we've reconfigured it here in the labs. And then we go back to the ship and install it, and then show the Marines how to use this piece of equipment that's Navy's at no cost, that the Navy and the Marines can now use for communication. We show at like no cost, listening to what they said, their needs. And then instead of making and putting another rock in the ruck, like you were saying, to make it heavier, even though we said we solved it, we made something like that's 5 pounds, but I'm already carrying 170 pounds. We figured out ways of like doing 0 pounds and looking at what's available on the ship, and then working with the Navy to figure out, hey, how can we provision this within the bounds of this equipment's capability to help both the Navy and the Marines communicate better. So I think that's like ways that we approach certain problem sets. And I love to reward those types of behaviors. And how I do that is through a bar raiser campaign that I started here. And quite honestly, I learned a lot from Colonel Bailey. He had a STAR campaign when he was a CO out here. And I took a little bit from him, and I took a little bit from Jeff Bezos. And I mashed it together into this bar raiser campaign. And what it is I award these lightning bolts, because COM on a PowerPoint is usually referred to as like a lightning bolt. And so what I do is I issue out these lightning bolts to reward those types of behaviors that are going out there and engaging and doing these types of activities. And what it does, what I've seen it do is I'm trying to get a culture that looks for yes, instead of what I like to say, resist trying to find the corners of the no box, and try to get to yes. And a lot of folks actually, sometimes, not a lot of folks, but some say, well, that's just another way of you saying like, I don't want to follow the rules, just get it done type of thing. And what I tell them is absolutely not. There's a knife back there was given to me when I was on the shooting team. We competed with the Royal Commandos, the Royal Marine Commandos. Okay. And they had this saying when the young Royal Commando gave me the knife, he had a saying, run fast, shoot straight. And what he was telling me is, we're going to run fast, but when you still have to shoot straight, you still have to concentrate on the excellence and the basics. Was another big thing I learned running with MARSOC and the operators is they run really fast, but the reason why they run fast is they're so good at the excellence in the basics. Breath control, slow, steady squeeze on the trigger, do the right, the small things right. And it doesn't mean that you're skirting the rules just because you're moving fast. Just because you're trying to search for yes doesn't mean that you ignore the rules. So I wrote this bar raiser campaign. I reward that stuff all the time. And it tries to set that culture that we are going to move fast, we are going to engage, and we're going to try to get to yes in a disciplined manner. And unlocking that on the workforce with that challenge that I gave to the workforce of transform, collaborate, and operationalize MCTSSA is why you're seeing like the Marines and the civilians get after the call, early adoption of the call with Major Lucas Burke. He said, like, collaborate, does it mean this? And I said, well, what's the call? Like, what's that? Like, he took his own interpretation of what collaborate means from Colonel Bailey, and then me putting gasoline on the fire and unleashing all the civilians and the Marines saying, like, this is my interpretation of it. And I said, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, like, our people are very intense on communication networks, like ones and zeros, kill chain system integration networks. But I'm really big on another piece, human networks, building the team of teams that enables that technology or that thinking to figure out, is there another way that we could do a kill chain or a system integration or pass data from one point to another? So it's what the workforce like pushes to all the time. And we find ourselves doing very niche specific things that makes MCTSSA like a 101. I like to call it the MCTSSA unicorn. And what's crazy is we do it with only 280 people. Our workforce is 280, and we compete at like a NIWIC level of thousands, a workforce of thousands, and we do it with 280. Like the breakdown is 140 Marines and 140 civilians. Wow. And you break that a little down more is we have about 20 of the Marines are officers that are from Naval Postgraduate School. And here's my point, Mike's 2 cents of on the block, the Big Mac special sauce, is there's this triangle that forms. And this triangle is mixing the academically educated Marine officer from Naval Postgraduate School that learns computer science, IT management, and cyber type stuff. You take that ingredient and you mix it with the experienced enlisted Marine from the fleet that's here. And then the third part of that triangle is the civilian engineers and IT specialists that are here that are practice engineers and practice testers. And what you do is you take those 3 ingredients and you put them in a room, and then you say, try to solve this or go after this. And it's absolutely phenomenal what all comes out of that triad or that Big Mac special sauce that I like to call it. And it's really cool to see. And so MCTSSA operates and gets attention a lot from senior leaders when we unleash their creativity and their innovation. And recently we've been getting a lot of attention from, we had Rear Admiral Small visit from Nav War, and we have a lot of the senior leadership from the Beltway and the Marine Corps watching what MCTSSA has done. And so very proud of the workforce and the talent and how they have such passion. And when you're not afraid to engage and look external, don't look internal, it's amazing what comes back. I mean, there was an individual here, Jimmy Clevenger, he had this idea in 2017, and it just happened in November 10th of 2020, of our Marine Corps birthday. General Glavy, Marfor Cyber, appointed us as a national blue team. And basically what that means is a cyber blue team is we are the Marine Corps' response to the congressionally mandated National Defense Authorization Act, like 1640 or 1647, that tells us that we have to make sure that our command and control systems have more cyber resiliency early on in the testing. So we are the testers for the PMs to answer that call. Just another thing where when Marines and civilians get together and they look at the gaps of the Marine Corps, and you allow leadership allows them to go forth and try to go after that challenge, transform, operationalize MCTSSA, and collaborate. It's amazing what happens. So it's unbelievable. And we have such a different perspective. We have a really different perspective of the world, because a lot of these different units only have like one system or a subset of these communication systems. MCTISSA has all the systems, all the command and control systems. So we get such a different view of, hey, if we can integrate this stuff with the Army system we have here this week, with our Navy system we have here this week, with all of our Marine Corps systems, can we do the kill chain sensor to shooter this way? And that's why, like, we're getting attention from the Beltway and NavWar, because we're willing to look at it from that approach, and we're also willing to try to get involved in the enterprise problems like Project Overmatch and for Rear Admiral Small and the CNO, Project Convergence for the Army, and then also try to get that third one, JADC2 with the Air Force. So really cool. You can tell that my passion, it comes from the awesomeness of the workforce. I love video games, so I always tell them, try to get to level awesome. So yeah.
I mean, it shows, because I only have to give you like 2 words and you can tell me all these great stories. And I think as a leader, that is important trait that you have. Not once have you shared, I asked you to share about Ligouri, but you shared everything you've said is because of them, because you are just there to everything I got from you is that your role is to empower your team.
Yeah. General Sagian, he put it down into, it's a people business, and I'm a people person. Like what I told you, that my philosophy, show up like it's game day, and then step 2 is engage. Leadership is a contact sport. You got to get out from your desk and engage your people. The scary part of all that is when you ask those questions and engage, you got to be open-minded for the responses. And the beauty part about all that is, when I created that strat plan, some of the places that we've gone, I did not think actually like what the end state was, so to speak. Like it's taking, when you embrace the workforce and their ideas, not only do you get buy-in from them, but they take you to places that you never even thought to go. And it's such a blessing to watch them in action. It really is. Here's a great story I have.
Please.
Major Burke and the Warfighter Support Division, the Global Support, FMF Support, and our Naval Integration Team. Here's a great, and they exist in 2 different divisions. They were working together on USS America to help get ready for the system, one of the systems they have there, and USS America, the aircraft carrier, and it departed 32nd Street. When it was out in off the coast, it was getting ready for some joint exercise or some big time exercise. Well, the captain called Major Burke and said, hey, one of our systems went down. Can you help us? And this is the beauty of not saying no, find ways to yes. He contacted the Naval Integration Team, the Naval Integration Branch, Major Ackland, and the civilians there. We have Marines and civilians that deployed to these ships. And within 24 hours, we got a response back and said, yes, we can. And the captain sent out a helo to come pick us up. We got the Marines out onto the helo, sent them off the coast. They got there. They got the system up and running. The captain loved them so much that they were helping teach the sailors how to work the system, and then also kept them there for this extent of the exercise. I didn't know if I was ever going to get them back. But it's when you let the workforce that are at the point of friction solve the problems, amazing things happen. Another example is we had this is a crazy story. We had a TIC, troops in contact, from another country in another continent, and it was the Army that called MCTSSA, which is a Marine Corps thing, and said, can you help us get our systems up and running? And we did, and got them up and running. And we don't like say that's not our job. That kind of moniker doesn't exist around here. That's not our job. We try to task organize ourselves and just solve problems and get after it. And it really shows when when they're getting after system integration, because that's really where and you interviewed Susie Alderson, my technical director. She likes to call the Marines are in the middle. The Marines have to be able to call and communicate with the Navy, and they have to also call and communicate with the Army. So we got to figure it out. We have to be able to communicate.
Yes.
And it's such a big part of like who we are. And I have to give credit, like Colonel Bailey, amazing individual, amazing leader. He really teased out the purpose and the why of MCTSSA. And Amy Forsyth, our PAO, said, make Marines more capable. Yeah. That's our purpose. That's our why statement. It's why our civilians and our Marines and get up in the morning. Like I get up in the morning because I care about the Marine and I want the Marine to be as accessible as they can. But our purpose here is to make Marines more capable. And there's this thing, and you being a Marine, shoot, move, and communicate. Yep. That third part, communicate, we can strategically help that Marine and shoot, move, and communicate. That third piece of that pie. And that's what we're all about, is making that Marine more capable on that third piece, communicate. And it's so fun. Like, and you can tell I like to tell stories. It's how I communicate. It's how I communicate. Like, because PowerPoints are just like blah. But like to truly get across through storytelling is how people remember MCTSSA.
You talk about passion. There is no passion that comes from PowerPoint. You can't get passion from slides. And recently you told me about a different way that you guys brief generals and admirals. It's different than most people. Can you share about that?
Absolutely. So the previous commander here, commanding officer, Colonel Robert Bailey, who's now the portfolio manager at Systems Command of Command Element Systems, he started this, and I just put gasoline on the fire because I saw the value and the worth. And I think the both of us, he's an amazing teammate, and I call people a lot of times teammates rather than rank, because to me it's more endearing and it's more empowering when we row together as teammates. But we made this heritage room, and this heritage room is a place where we have a pallet that was a gigantic pallet that was made, came in from one of our command and control systems. We turned it into a giant kind of wooden kind of briefing area. And we put a lot of our storyboards of what MCTSSA has done in the past and a bunch of couches in this heritage room. It's kind of like a kind of an area, a social area. It's got a pool table. It's got a foosball table that civilians have donated upon retirement from here. And it's not a place for just Marines, but it's a place to come and to communicate. And what we do is when we brief VIPs and general officers, we don't sit them in a conference room and where they're at the head of the table and they feel like they have to act a certain way and decide a certain way and be a certain way. What we do is we put them in a heritage room and we sit them down on sofas, and we gather in a circle, and we have one slide on the TV. That's it, just one. And we have conversations. We talk about what the context of what we're trying to get across and what MCTSSA is doing and what our systems are. And the amazing point of like putting an individual in a different location that's outside of a conference room is you get a totally different feel and you get a totally different response from the general officers. And you get a much deeper understanding of what they're thinking and their guidance and their input. And they get a better understanding of what we're trying to do. So I'm a firm believer. I wouldn't believe it if I didn't see it for myself. I thought the first time was, oh, that was interesting. The second time was a coincidence, but the third time we did it with general officers and senior civilians coming through, I said, this is not a coincidence. There's something magical that happens when you have conversations and you're outside of a conference room. What happens? And it's not just me briefing. What we do is we bring the actual experts, the engineers in the room, and be okay with what they say. because it's a conversation, and the generals get exactly from the horse's mouth, so to speak, what the heck is really going on. There's no filter, so to speak. So you get a genuine conversation when you come to MCTSSA.
Well, and I think that's amazing. And I think that's what a lot of senior leaders actually want. They want the real, take no filters. I don't want a PowerPoint that's been cleaned 17 times and it doesn't actually talk about, like, some of these big budgets that I see go through for the Navy and Marine Corps side. You're trying to present a $7 million budget on 2 PowerPoint slides. Like, it's,
Yeah,
so I love that
it
you
doesn't
guys,
work.
no, it doesn't. And I love that you guys are taking that different way and applying it. Is that, so you had some time with MARSOC. You guys are very kind of informal there as well. Did you experience similar type communications that way there?
Yeah, absolutely. What I learned as a logistics officer in MARSOC at First Raider Battalion, and watching the operators and having them as teammates, was they accept you as a teammate, number one. And number two is there's a standard. You just meet the standard or you don't meet the standard, regardless of rank or gender or anything or race. It doesn't matter. Like, you just meet the standard. And what I saw was there was something that he's retired now, but then a captain. He just did an exercise with his team, a team leader,
Okay.
and he had what Marines call a hot wash. And what it is it's a feedback loop. He got the Marines and the sailor, the corpsman, in a circle, and it went from lowest rank to highest rank, and they gave feedback on what went well, what went bad, and recommendations of how to make themselves better. And it didn't matter what they said. They all like took it as it was like a general speaking. And they this feedback loop in that small little team, they got better and better and better about what they were doing. And to me, I looked at like when I'm here at MCTSSA, I'm trying to employ that in a couple concepts. The call,
Yeah.
in design thinking with Major Lucas Burke leading it here for MCTSSA as early adopters, is bringing that design thinking and flattening the organization, having flat comms, and communicating from the lowest level directly to leadership, and getting them outside of their offices and outside the labs and putting them in a room and doing a different way of thinking. Another concept we're going after is something called MarineWorks. And what MarineWorks basically is, it's like SoftWorks, but what we're doing is we're listening to the fleet, and we're taking emerging technologies and we're putting them in with the fleet as an FMF construct, and we're collecting metrics and doing assessments, and then we're feeding it back to higher headquarters, saying, look at this tech, you might want to look at this technology, and trying to inform them on technologies that they're interested in, and trying to help them write the requirements to get after it. Because our engineers are at that point of friction, and we're strategically located with a competitive advantage of talking directly to the fleet. So that feedback loop going all the way back to the Beltway, the Beltway CD&I and the portfolio managers are getting an unvarnished third-party opinion on how their current systems and emerging technologies are working. So I learned a lot from in MARSOC and SOCOM about like the value of flattening the organization, over communicating, using different tools, finding ways to yes. I always love to say that, like, when you talk to an operator or a raider, a Marine raider, and you ask them to make a cake, they're already at the food market trying to buy the ingredients to make that cake. And then in the feedback loop, they'll say, why the hell did we actually make this cake? Or we can make this cake better if we use these ingredients or did it this way. It's just a way of getting that feedback loop back to systems command and back to the requirements owners and CD&I in the Beltway, and just doing our part to help the organization. Yeah, amazing lessons.
That's fantastic.
Another lesson, I would say, can I add another lesson
Please.
from MARSOC, is that the reason why I believe they're so professional is they have and it's me again breaking it down into 3 steps, 3 things, was visualization. They visualize the win, they visualize the patrol. I saw that with the shooting team. They visualize the shot. They visualize their positions on the range. The second was rehearsals. Rehearse, rehearse, rehearse. Professionals rehearse a lot. They do those reps and sets all the time. That's why I love our engineers getting into their out of their comfort zone, so to speak, and engaging with the fleet because we're helping them get reps and sets. Now we're in our prep time, so to speak. And then the third piece of what I learned from them is excellence in the basics, doing the small things really well. And I really truly believe that we're MCTSSA and the workforce is involved in Project Overmatch and helping the Navy and Army and Convergence and JADC2 with the Air Force and doing all this system integration. I firmly believe that we're involved in these type of enterprise things because of we're so good at our blocking and tackling, testing and certification, our engineering and our global support that we have to the Marines for the sustainment of the C2 systems. Those three pillars are our excellence in the basics. And when we do that well, we can get into complex things like sensor to shooter kill chains and bending our systems to work with the Army and the Navy systems and show different paths forward. Yeah.
That's fantastic. And if anyone's listening to the audio version of this and not getting the video, you are missing out. Like, sir, you are so passionate. Your passion for what you do, not only at MCTSSA, but as a leader, is just oozing through the screen right now. And
I can tell you,
go ahead.
I can tell you, I don't want to, it's not a somber note, but it's always true to me. Early in my career, I lost some Marines in Iraq, and they stay with me, and I feel like I always have a sense of urgency to not do it for what's on my collar, but to do it for the Marine and live for the Marines that that gave everything for their service and for their country. So for me, it's always a sense of urgency. I try to cut out all the white noise and focus on the Marine because I have to live for those Marines that gave everything. And to me, like, that's what it's all about. Like, I don't get up for what the hell is on my collar. That's why I call people teammates. I get up for the Marine themselves. And to have the honor to do that with the civilians here and the passion that they have in the labs is why I'm their head cheerleader. Like, I see their passion, and I try to just say, like, I have to tell the world about what you all are doing here, because these civilians are really civilian Marines. There's no difference. They're all teammates here at MCTSSA, and they're trying to figure out how to best support the Commandant in Force Design 2030 as a naval team. It's a Navy Marine Corps team here. We truly have the blue-green blood here.
That's excellent, sir. That's fantastic. And I appreciate that reason for keep going and the reason your passion comes through. Thank you for sharing that story. Cause I don't think it is a somber moment. I think it's a respectful moment, and you respect those. So as we're kind of closing down here, sir, what else, do you have any other leadership lessons you want to impart, or anything about MCTSSA, or throw some oorahs? This is your chance.
Yeah, I would say, a big part of that three-step process I talked about, show up like it's game day, engage and ask questions. I like to encapsulate that in an acronym that calls HERO. And I do this, I award those bar raisers, these lightning bolts a lot of times. Oh, by the way, the reason why this one's red is for when they do like a classified or a high side kind of raising the bar, I give them the red one as opposed to the gold one.
Okay.
But I really try to invest in that acronym HERO. And what it is honesty, empathy, respect, and open-mindedness. And to me, when you try to display those things and to yourself and also to your teammates, it really shows and gets into that workforce. And as a leader, I could tell you, like, it's all not flowers and rainbows over at MCTSSA. There's bumps and bruises, and it's a contact sport over here. And as a leader, you have to keep it together. I like to have that positive attitude. And when I was a branch head over at Manpower Reserve Affairs and some other units, I told someone, watch what happens when you just are positive and you put your finger in the water and you slowly make a current over and over again of just positivity. That's why I love to say words like heck yeah or easy day, because the heck yeah or easy day is a thing of mine that I always say, because easy day, it refers to there's always some Marine out there that's on the line that has it worse than us. So anything that we're doing, it's going to be okay. The sky is not falling. And I love to say, no matter how complex the problem is, or can you do this, the answer that I give is heck yeah. And the positivity, when you get after that HERO acronym, and you have empathy, and you actually try to learn everyone else's jobs, not to do it, but to learn why they're so important and what they do and how you can further empower them, and learn that empathetic kind of philosophy. When everyone tries to understand each other a little better, you're less likely, when things get tough, yell at each other, because everyone's got their jobs and everyone's working and doing their thing. You just gotta reach out and say, hey, what do you do? Like, what's going on? Like, how can I help you? And when you learn about them, you're like, man, I didn't realize you did all that. You're less likely to be a little bit less like this and swim in the boat, so to speak, as a teammate together. So the thing I would say is, like, I try to encapsulate it with that HERO acronym, and really push out to the workforce. And positive attitude goes a long way. One of my employees, when I gave him a bar raiser, he said it the best. It's all about A&E, attitude and effort. You got to go in with a positive attitude. And when you give your effort and you bring in the right skill sets, just watch what happens. Get the heck out of our way. And so that's what I would depart with. Is it really is all of what I'm saying. It comes down to where MCTSSA is all about helping the Marine be more capable when they communicate, and figuring out how to support those program managers at Systems Command, so that they field and they acquire the gear that the Marines want. Yeah.
Fantastic. That's excellent, sir. Well, I've really appreciated having you on today, and everyone that's listening, reach out to MCTSSA. They are on social media. They are everywhere. If you can't find them, let me know at NavalX. We will connect you into the great things they're doing, whether you are hearing this as a Marine, a sailor, and you need to work with them to make something better, or you're hearing this as an engineer, you want to go help them make things better, or if you're hearing this as a company or academia side and you have an idea that you think they can benefit from, reach out to them, reach out to us. We'll make sure you get in. So, sir, thanks again for coming on today.
Oh, it was a pleasure. I see what you're doing, and you're exactly what I'm all about. I love how you communicate. I love how you're just breaking down those silos and having conversations. It's moving the needle, brother. It's moving the needle. So thank you for what you do.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And your team.
Yeah, it's not just me. It's everybody.
Yeah, it takes a team.
A lot of people behind it, for sure. So excellent. Well, thanks, everyone. Have a great day. We'll see you.
Yeah. Hoorah. Have a good day.
Hoorah.